Hello, hello. It's the one and only. This is 5D Transformations. And yeah, real quickly, man, I just wanted to touch on comedy and MBTI and how there's a lot of different types that are really funny. You know, there's a lot of people that can confuse the types. There's people who think that, for example, someone like Martin Lawrence, is a I see that it's easy to mistype people. It's very easy to mistype people. I see mistyping in the community all the time because people will assume, well, Martin Lawrence, who, if you don't know, he's a comedian, big profile comedian that was real popular in the 90s, early 2000s. And, he's somebody that's kind of like a cultural icon in America when it comes to comedy. He had a TV show that was real popular. And so people assume he's an ESFP because he's just funny. He has a lot of energy. He's out there. He takes up the room, but that's just what it looks like on the surface level. You have to look into his personality. So that's where you'll see a lot of the time people will think somebody's a certain personality type, you know, but they only think that person's a certain personality type because of how they appear on the exterior. But you don't know the person's introverted functions, so you don't know that person's other side. You just assume the outer side, and then everyone assumes he's an ESFP. I see this all the time. People think that Mike Tyson, for example, is the boxer Mike Tyson. They think he's like they think he's like a ESTP or like because he's aggressive and things like that. No, he has introverted feeling actually, right? He's an ESFP, and I'll do an episode on that later. But let's focus on Martin for now. So you would assume he's an ESFP because he's out there. He's vocal, fun. Seems like he's presently in the moment. But really, if you look at his interviews and you look at him behind the scenes, he's actually he has more of an introverted energy. And if you really pay attention to his style, ESFPs are more performance type people when it comes to comedy. Introverted thinkers are going to be the types they criticize more, they are more critical. And that's what Martin was. He was critical and he also could perform. Now you're wondering, why is he so good at performing? Well, what you'll find is that he has extroverted feeling fourth, which means he can take on a persona. That's still within his four functions. And then he has introverted sensing as well, which is third. So that introverted sensing means his memory is real good. He can play characters really well, and then he can bring them to life with extroverted feeling. So then the introverted thinking aspect is, his ability to critically see what's funny, what's not. And then his extroverted intuition, which is the second function, is his ability to come up with ideas, funny skits. He always had good skits. He was good at coming up with ideas, impromptu. That's all extroverted intuition on the fly. So when you put all of that together, that's an INTP. So he's actually an INTP, and people don't even know because they're so focused on his performance. But they miss that. They mistype the INTP as an ESFP because if you look at his interviews, you'll find out very quickly he's not an ESFP. I mean, he thinks way too critically, number one. So, you know, introverted feeling really isn't a super critically thinking function. It's very much more a feeling and just being with life. But if you listen to some of his older interviews, he was very aware, very much had a lot of deep thoughts about certain things, and he can communicate that. And you also realize he's not a big at talking. He's not a super speaker. He doesn't speak that much. His words are very to the point. If you listen to him in his interviews, like he says what he says and he means what he means. He doesn't really expound too much on that, unless he's really feeling the energy of the crowd. Maybe his extroverted feeling gets active, and then he can get in that mode. So, you know, people are completely mistyping this dude. So don't just look at the persona of somebody. You got to look at their interviews. You got to look at them behind the scenes to get a better idea of who they are. There's a lot of INTPs that are good at comedy because they're critical and they have that extroverted intuition that can come up with ideas and see different ways about things. But they're also performers because they have extroverted feeling as a fourth function. And they're better at like acting out and playing characters because they have introverted sensing third. So they have very good memory of the things around them. So if they had an aunt that acted a certain way, an uncle that acted a certain way, a cousin, they can pull from that easy and very much mimic that very well because of that memory. You know, they can go in the past and really capture that. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, that's how you see a lot of INTPs. Like Chris Rock is an INTP. You know, and it's the same thing. He's very critical in his in the way he thinks about things. You know, but he's still introverted, right? Just because he's on stage talking, behind the scenes, he's introverted. You know, so extroverted feeling has the ability to step in front of a crowd and whenever they're in an environment around like people who they work with and perform with, you're going to see their energy come out. But when they're by themselves, they go back to that introversion. So I wanted to use Martin Lawrence as an example because he gets mistyped. I'm going to do another one like this on Mike Tyson. Let me know some other people who you get confused with, and I'll do stuff on them as well. And thank you for listening. Got more videos coming soon. Talk to you later. Peace.